This is White Plains Week, the weekly roundup of White Plains, Westchester, and world news. With John Bailey, editor and publisher of the daily internet newspaper White Plains CitizenNetReporter, WPCNR.com. Jim Benneroff, editor and publisher of SuburbanStreet.com and WhitePlains.com. White Plains Week, what's happening? Who are the newsmakers? What's in store for the future? The views and opinions expressed on this program are solely those of the participants. White Plains Week is presented on Optimum Cable Channel 76, Verizon Fios Channel 45, and on the internet at whiteplainsweek.com, youtube.com, and wpcommunitymedia.org. Now, White Plains Week.
Good evening, Mr. and Mrs. and Ms. White Plains, Westchester, and the world. Well, I feel so good today. Just touched ground on an international runway, jet propelled back in the USA. This week is America's Week. And the opening pictures speak for themselves. This was America's moment. Just after Mr. Biden and Kamala Harris were sworn in after 8 months of the hardest, most important, vital 8 months of their lives running for president, it was an emotional moment for all Americans. The nightmare we have suffered through 4 years of oppression and the terror of the coronavirus is on its way to its end. Rebuilding the American dream, America's reputation has just begun for these two people entrusted with the must-do mission of bringing America back. And you can see the emotions, the exhaustion on their faces. These are the headlines for America's Week. The most important inauguration of the new president moved millions around the world. I know it moved me. Governor Andrew Cuomo pleaded with Congress for financial justice for New York State and outlined how to bring New York back, spelling out the budget cuts he is going to make if no aid is coming from coronavirus vaccines reported in short supply and folks were scrambling to get vaccination. Appointments as the delivery structure was not ready. White Plains promoted its Restaurant Week now in the last 9 days, and there is still time to help your restaurant in White Plains, New York, USA. Don't cook tonight. Take out tonight. The holiday market, the December White Plains bid promotion, attracted 5,000 people. The bid thanks you for helping the 40 businesses who report glowing receipts. There was no Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. breakfast in White Plains. The Thomas H. Slater Center urges you to contribute to benefit the center's emergency food pantry by sending contributions to 2 Fisher Court, White Plains, New York, 10601. 75,000 persons lost their jobs in Westchester County in the last 12 months. Employment went down 9.2%, showing the impact of COVID-19. Coronavirus continued its relentless second wave in Westchester County, infecting 5,777 more people in a week since our last program. Did that have anything to do with the 3-day weekend? Now to the America's Week video newsreel march of time. Governor Cuomo began the week with bad news, reporting New York State vaccine allotments would be cut from 300,000 a week to 250,000. He said that New York State infection rate did not have a second wave, but instead called it a surge. And this morning, Friday, when we are recording this program, It was reported we would run out of vaccines statewide today. And it would be April before we got more. On Tuesday, Governor Cuomo delivered a budget presentation which spelled out what happens if there was not financial justice for New York. If the new Congress does not restore the $15 billion cost of lost revenues New York experienced from the coronavirus in 2020, he demanded the Congress also repeal the SALT legislation that costs New Yorkers an additional $15 million in taxes to the federal government. Governor Cuomo said if Congress failed to do this, New York State would sue the federal government for the $15 billion deficit in revenues the state is faced with. The state budget director said the budget assumes a $6 billion injection from the federal treasury in the current new budget year that they have to approve, and a $9 million injection next year in 2022 to 23. The budget assumes a $6 billion injection from the federals by April the 1st from Congress. The cuts would go deeper if that is not forthcoming. If the state does not get the other $9 billion next budget year, things will be worse. You can see the complete budget explanation on the governor's website. If they get all the $15 billion this year, there will be no cuts whatsoever. Meanwhile, cities and towns across Westchester, including White Plains, were trying to keep restaurants going. In White Plains, we are celebrating Restaurant Week, which has until the end of the month, drawing attention to it at Holy Crab on Mamaroneck Avenue. County Executive George Lauder visited and gave a pep talk on helping restaurants by ordering takeout and going out socially distancing. I also interviewed Brittany Brandwine, Executive Director of the Westchester Bid, on the success of Bid efforts to keep the White Plains economy off life support. Here's the County Executive.
Very important things. Number one is the vibrancy of the White Plains community. I don't live in White Plains, but I work in White Plains and work right here in downtown. And a promotion like this should appeal to anybody who works in White Plains as well as lives in White Plains. But there's an energy in this community, and that energy is reflected by a great restaurant community, this restaurant and the others in the program, and I think you've highlighted that. The second thing to me, and I come out of this background before I got into public office, is how important it is to market the things that you do. It's not enough just to have great things, but you've got to find ways to have promotions and remind people of what's there to generate that attendance. And right now we're overcoming, as Tom pointed out, where we are at this point of the pandemic. The classic cliche is it's a light at the end of the tunnel, but we're still in the tunnel. And so it takes extra effort, extra creativity. And I think, frankly, that's what the bid has brought to White Plains, is a willingness for business people to come up with ways to incentivize people or to remind people of what's in White Plains. And of course, you know, I want to see something like this in every community, because that helps the overall Westchester economy. Since I work here, since I am overweight, and I like going out to eat, this is a perfect promotion for me personally, and we're going to make good use of it between now and the end of the month.
Well, I'll tell you, Fitness February is coming up in February, so there you go.
I'll worry about it in February. And enjoy January.
Just enjoying it now. Thank you, everybody.
The restaurant month is going fabulously in downtown White Plains. Even from the first day on January 2nd, we heard that people were taking advantage of this promotion. We are so pleased of the community's support for our local restaurants. They need it now more than ever. And I know that they are very grateful. Jennifer and I have heard, the feedback from our restaurants that it is a godsend to them.
Right. So they're surviving?
Surviving is the right word.
Surviving is the right word?
Yes, and paired with, amendments from the city and support from the county in reducing third-party delivery fees, and more from the state, with moratoriums on evictions and such. All of these have affected and helped to keep our downtown and restaurants afloat.
Takeout is up.
Takeout is up. People are willing to come inside. Some people are willing. We hear it's definitely a varied population through, you know, the different restaurants. Some are having better experience than others. You know, larger restaurants where you can social distance, but maybe paying higher rent. You know, people are more willing to go, but at the same time, you know, if you can't sustain for long on a 50% capacity, so it's a challenge.
What's next for the spring? Any promotions coming up for the spring to help our restaurants?
So we will be focused again and working with the city, you know, to make sure that people have options to dine out. That flexibility has really been what's been important and creativity. So to give the people the option, this is kind of the first time a restaurant month or a restaurant week is having takeout options. So you can do curbside pickup, you can do delivery, you can do dine-in. So you have options, and we will look to expand those options again. The city had expanded sidewalk cafe dining through the winter. As you can see, it's very cold and many people, certain, you know, at different times, but there was numerous in November beautiful days where people were sitting outside, and we expect to see that again in the early part of 2021.
How did the market on the street over the Christmas?
The holiday market.
Oh, holiday market.
I thought that was very well attended.
It was. The estimate, I understand from our partners at 914 Pop-Ups, was about 5,000 people over the course of 10 days. All of the small business vendors were quite pleased with their sales. There was very clear showing of the community and people making an effort to shop small this year. The bid put in a shop small promotions to encourage. Usually it's focused on Small Business Saturday to encourage people to shop at their local businesses. But this year we extended it all through December, and it worked. And the businesses and surrounding our bid members were just the storefront establishments were very grateful to have the extra foot traffic downtown.
Any idea how much dollars it generated?
We'd have to continue. We're still running the numbers.
Miss Wine said there's more to come. The bid is sponsoring Fitness February, which will showcase specials to attract residents to the 16 fitness spa workout businesses located in downtown White Plains. Who knew there were 16 fitness centers? In the spring, there will be a special promotion that will highlight the beauty and salon businesses in White Plains. Mr. and Mrs. White Plains, don't miss that. Coronavirus is still spreading steady in Westchester County, inexorably. That now leads all the counties in active cases in the Mid-Hudson region, a dangerous position to be in. On Monday, County Executive George Latimer said new infections are soaring the last 7 days. That was last week. And Wednesday, the 13th, through Wednesday, the 20th, showed no respite in those 7 days since my last White Plains week. 5,777 new persons tested positive of 86,516 tested, at an infection rate of 6.7%. The infection rate affects hospitalizations. If Westchester continues to infect at 7%, you will see 285 new hospitalizations a week 2 weeks from now. 300 a week in hospitalizations means the 2,500 COVID bed capacity may be tested. This is not a surge, it is, make no mistake, a second wave in Westchester. The 18th, 19th, and 20th were up more than a full percentage point, up over 7% again in infections. Higher than the beginning of the week. Could this be the 3-day weekend effect? In February, we have President's Week vacation coming up, another really dangerous spot. one really has to watch out for the socializing on that week. Socializing jacked the infection rate, as we have been telling you the last 4 months well in advance, by showing you the creeping terror that does not let up and is caused by our reckless behavior and socialization without prudence. I am scheduled for a vaccine at the county center next Wednesday, but just Thursday, Governor Cuomo said we might run out of vaccines. The stress will be tremendous for all if there is no more vaccine for 2 months. I mean, that would put us into April for more vaccine. By next week, the government may be back to straighten out the slowdown. Today, Mr. Biden announced his plan for getting the vaccine going. More than ever, the managerial ineptitude of the incompetent previous administration is going to be shown to have made more people die because it did not care. It could not manage. They were the worst and the dimmest. The captains of industry, more like Captain Quiggs. The New York deaths from COVID are 41,787 dead in the state. 10% of the nation's COVID deaths. What cities are the worst places for coronavirus in Westchester? Here are the 7 leading cities and towns in infections. Number 1 is Yonkers, 257 new cases Wednesday, 2,947 active cases, averaging 210 new cases a week. Number 2 is New Rochelle, 69 new cases Wednesday, 932 active cases. 3 is Mount Vernon, 77 new cases Wednesday, 814 active, and White Plains is number 4 with 66 new cases Wednesday, 617 active, and creeping up the list is Yorktown with 42 new cases Wednesday, 469 active. And Portchester at number 8 is still an orange zone according to the county map. 31 new cases Wednesday, 419 active cases. Can anybody explain to me why Yonkers isn't a red zone? The cases there are out of control. Their hospitals must really be under pressure, and we don't hear about it. We should. And truly, it's upsetting. When you look at all the Westchester towns and cities' daily new cases the last 2 weeks, it is ominous. Here are the top daily infections for the past 2 weeks. The 10 leaders in new cases per week the last 2 weeks are Yonkers, averaging 1,473 new infections a week. I say again, 1,473 infections a week. Why isn't Yonkers a red zone? Riddle me that, Batman. New Rochelle, 466 a week. Mount Vernon, 407 a week. White Plains, really, we're getting lax here, ladies and gentlemen, 308 a week. Yorktown, 234. At the 3,576 infections a week and 5% become hospitalized, that is 179 hospitalizations a week, and it mounts each week, compounding decline in hospital bed availability for COVID from these towns right about this week. The misery is coming. And remember, there is no backup force for relief in the hospitals. The fatigue is going to be possibly a problem. And I salute those people sticking to it, trying their best for us. We need to stop this mingling and infecting. The unemployment figures show it. 74,800 people lost their jobs in the Hudson Valley in 2020, according to the New York State Department of Labor. A 9.2% increase in unemployed. Leisure and hospitality jobs, no surprise, lost 32,900 jobs. Education and health services, 10,900 jobs. Business and professional service, 8,800 jobs gone. Trade, transit and utilities, 7,600 jobs. The Labor Department lays this squarely on the COVID-19 pandemic. The 741,700 level of jobs is the lowest in 10 years. Orange, Rockland, and Westchester lost 9.4% in jobs. The sales tax handle for December is delayed. It may not be pretty for any city or town. And they should pay heed and start cutting now. The governor was talking a 14% tax increase on the top 1% earners in the state to balance his budget. Will cities and towns have to do that? How about school districts? Budget meetings are coming up in February. School superintendents this week said the tax cap is too low. Please, inflation was nothing this year. Superintendents cannot take it out of taxpayers who are in danger of missing house payments and don't have jobs. Please, if your Democratic majority in Congress in both houses, though by one vote majority only in the Senate, can't deliver $6 billion in justice to New York, then school aid will have to be cut. The governor said in his newsletter last night, Thursday night, that in the past 24 hours, Tuesday, Wednesday, New York administered 96,000 doses. As of 11 a.m. Thursday, New York's healthcare distribution sites have administered 93% of first doses received from the federal government and 91% of first and second doses. And they guarantee that if you've had a first dose, you will get a second dose. Now, we'll see how soon those vaccines get here. The governor said, we always ensure there are enough vaccine doses to complete the vaccination for those who got their first dose already. Now, why did we run out of vaccines so fast? The vaccine injectors and rapidly depleted the supply. And then they jerked the vaccine supply back. This overwhelmed the assignment system and supply. However, the pharmacies and selected vaccination centers were now ready to take calls 1 week later. Why were efficient, organized vaccination centers like WestMed not included and others? That's a waste of resources. Please, if you weren't ready to answer phones on day one to schedule appointments, tell the governor to delay the first opening shots to the public. Please, this is the same managerial incompetence we saw demonstrated in early voting, absentee ballot counting around the state. You have to use your brains to assume what you will need, but please have someone at the phones if you agree to assign dosage times the first day. Persons making an appointment at the county center last week could not get a first shot until April, and we are still waiting for Sergeant Preston and Yukon King to arrive with the vaccines. But it's going to be a slow trek, but who knows, maybe the new president and vice president and their team can effect a miracle. I am not criticizing the governor. Governor Cuomo, as always, assumes the top management of chains, pharmacies, and hospitals are competent and will do what must be done. He assumes they are the top administrators. Because when you applied as an over 75 vaccine recipient, which was on Monday, the 11th, the list of sites giving the vaccine only had one center ready to book, Westchester County Medical Center, and you were given pharmacies and other vaccine centers that were not ready to take calls. I repeat, not ready to take calls and book. You've got answering machines, and you were given sites nearest where you live. Naturally, the county center filled up fast, and as of early afternoon, the first day, I could not get an appointment till January 27th, next Wednesday. And most of the other places were not ready to book and assign dates because you couldn't raise them or even go to their websites. That was on the first day. Not ready Monday morning. So now this week, Brenda Starr, my wife, could not get a test scheduled until April. she went down to 138th Street in the Bronx on the recommendation of a friend. She heard of the Bronx Essen Health Center. She called, got a booking Wednesday for shot number 1. This scrambling was also compounded by the last nasty thing the previous American regime did to punish the American people they hated. They opened up vaccinations to persons of 65 and up. The newly eligible applied and overwhelmed the vaccine injectors. Imagine the governor's surprise when they inject staffs at a leisurely pace 6 weeks before that was all done. And then the hand-packed vaccine administration centers were not ready to buck. Not ready to buck. Not everyone can balance issues and make decisions like Governor Cuomo. It is when he relies on others outside his staff and crack managers to execute is when things go wrong. Now, I said I feel so good today. Why? Because the eagle has dusted off their sullied feathers, lifted up his head, and flapped its wings and got his and her mojo back. The eagle has lifted off, rising majestically like a phoenix Wednesday on Inauguration Day. The president inspired, the first woman vice president brought tears and hope to all. The 22-year-old poet laureate just nailed all the possibilities that were dashed by 4 years of ineptitude, hatred, and class warfare by leaders and managers who could neither lead or manage or think of doing good. It was a rational, compelling, relentless work of poetic art which uplifted in a rousing cadence like a march. What a great job by this young woman. I know you can see this show all over America and the world, but I have this message to the millions across America whose candidate did not win. I have been everywhere, and across America, I have never been treated badly by anyone I have met in my travels. We all treat each other so well when it's just person to person, and we're all good at heart, and that heart is back. America is back. Red China, Soviet Russia, and despots of the world, the eagle knows who you are. There's a new president in town. The eagle is back. This is John Bailey, and I'm proud to say good night, President Joe Biden. Good night, Vice President Kamala Harris. Good night, Jim Benoroff. And good night for America's Week. And we're going out tonight with the native New Yorker, tough, smart, loving Lady Gaga. Started this Inauguration Day like no other with her spectacular performance that thrilled all who heard her, including me. The dark hour is gone. The sun is shining. America's back, baby. Ladies and gentlemen, the Star-Spangled Banner.
So proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming,
This has been White Plains Week, news and commentary about White Plains, Westchester, and the world. The views and opinions expressed on this program were solely those of the participants.